What's up, guys? Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the new episode of Mini Customs. Today we're taking a look at the Manco Big Cat. This is a project I'm really excited about. It is a Trail Sport, which was a red version, had a 5 horsepower Tecumseh motor. When I bought it in Cincinnati, Ohio for about 800 bucks. It was missing just a chain guard, which is kind of common on these. But the front end has always been the worst on these. Basically, they were made out of a bicycle front end, just with the really wide tires. So basically, you're using what I use on the back of my Dingo, which is a 22 by 11 by 8. I mean, that is a pretty big tire to hopefully not bend. Mine was bent beyond repair. It was one of those things where you could repair it, but it would take more money than what's really worth, especially if you're going to be off-roading and kind of beating this thing up. So let's get into the video about how basically we're going to do this, how we're going to change that. I'd like to give you a look at one idea. Is basically I have these, which are new bars with new kinds of grips on them and stuff like that. A new kill switch. I went with the old school style. Basically, it's a push button kills motor. Let go. You can pull the cord again, and you're good to go. New throttle setup, ready to go. These are actually whiter than the factory Manco Big Cats, and I also went with the red and black due to the fact that we're going to be repowder coating this. This whole bike is going to be basically restored and modified, but I don't have any vehicle that's red, so we're going to keep it that same color. I'm going to go with a fire engine red though to really grab people, and basically we're going to be changing the front end. So this is the bike that we're currently working on. This is the Manco Big Cat. It's an awesome bike, but if you haven't noticed, it's kind of missing something. The front end. The front end is completely trash. Like I said, it got bent. So what I ended up doing was completely removing the entire front end of it. This is getting a major upgrade. We're not supporting just the 22 tire. So what we're actually going to be doing now is replacing this entire setup with a 1985 Honda ATC 250 ES front end. We're going to be getting rid of these bags. I don't like them. I never liked them. As soon as I got the bike, we're keeping the same size tire on the back. I'm basically going to be working on disassembling the entire bike and getting rid of these bags and getting rid of all the stuff we don't want. As for these pegs down here, these are going to go away completely. I'm going to actually come up with a different idea. I don't really like the ride height. Another reason why I changed the front end. The front end is going to raise this about 3 to 4 inches. This is a lot bigger of a front end. We're literally taking the entire thing. Wheel, rim, the shocks, the drum, all of it is literally going to raise that up. So we want to get that ride height out of it, and we also want it for comfortability while riding. This thing actually has shocks. It has a front drum brake, which this bike had no brake on the front at all. So we're basically building it up with front and rear brakes, which is going to be nice. You keep low pressure in these tires, which is automatically going to add to the shock value. While you're hitting those bumps, you're not going to get the jolt up your back like you would with most rigid frames. You know, usually you use your legs to kind of bounce yourself when you hit a bump. This is going to be able to take a lot of that out of the equation for you. So let's get into it. So what I'm working on right now is getting rid of the seat. We're going to actually get this reupholstered, probably with marine leather. It's probably going to be a different style of stitching. Basically, if you're doing this, I'm using a 3/8 bolt. There's 4 bolts that are underneath this seat that actually hold this on. And basically we're gonna take this off. This should also remove the fender, this whole plastic piece right here. And we're gonna actually clean this up. Yep, there we go, there's one right there. Basically it's going to get graphics. We're not gonna just leave it plain black. I definitely want this thing to stand out. The tank's gonna get graphics, all the chain guards, the 30 series, torque converter setup. I'm actually looking to see about doing a juggernaut on it and different stages and stuff like that to it. To give this 212, this is a Predator 212 Hemi. We're gonna be doing a stage 1, probably stage 2. I'm not exactly sure about a stage 3 yet, but we're definitely gonna give this thing a lot of power. Replace all the bearings, basically get this thing as clean as we possibly can. I know this motor already leaks oil. It's kind of prone to the 212s and pretty much any of them. So basically that's what I'm working on right now, is getting everything figured out to the point where putting it back together isn't going to be that bad. I did find the manuals on Go Power Sports. I don't know if BMI has them or not. You can always check. This model, if you're ever looking, it's usually on the forks is where you're going to find your part number. This part number is 59509. It does say I'm going to basically have this recreated, cleaned up, looking better than what it was before. But as soon as I get the seat nut and stuff off, I'll be back. So sit tight. Alright guys, so basically I got all 4 bolts out. That means the gas tank should be freed up. This should be freed up now. We're going to go ahead and just remove this. Yep, there we go. Not a bad seat, but we are going to get it reupholstered. Like I said, something with more of a marine leather. This is actually a pretty sturdy seat. As you can see, it's very thick. It's very comfortable. So basically, we're just going to, honestly, probably just going to keep the foam and just have it rewrapped and redone. Probably with something on the back saying like Trail Sport or something to kind of give this a little more branding. But basically we're just gonna throw that to the side, finally get rid of these damn things because I hate the saddlebags. I thought they were ugly when I got the bike. Yep, there we go. Now we're just gonna remove the fender. This again is gonna get a ton of graphics. Of course you're not gonna see it up to here, but we're gonna redo graphics all along the side here, the back fender piece, and of course the other side. I'm trying not to cut any of this. I have seen a lot of dingoes. I'm sorry. I have seen a lot of Manco Big Cats where they alter and cut all this stuff out. I really like the look of it. I like that it kind of keeps everything out of there. So I'm thinking about keeping it and doing something pretty neat with these plastics. Something that is gonna be really, really cool, I think. So other than that, I think we're at that point now where we can start actually draining the fuel tank, because I know this fuel's bad. I believe this is even the original fuel filter they left on here. So I know there's going to be a lot of cleaning going on with the 212. I know that I have new tires for this. We got to get new bearings. I believe I have all the bearings on the way for it. But yeah, basically we're going to clean this up and get all this kind of broke the fuck down. Alright, so the best way that I can put this, and I'll bring you over here to see. A lot of people end up either draining the fuel or whatever they want to do. What I do is usually I take a pair of needle nose, lock on needle nose right here, and if you see I actually crimp the line so that no fuel could come out, and then I just end up cutting the fuel line. The whole main reason to that is because I'm going to be changing this all together. I'm actually going to make it look good and functional. That is literally what I do with every project. It's not just about does it look good, it's got to be able to perform good also. I'm not saying that you're never going to have problems, okay? No matter what, there's always something that you either don't know about and you're trying out. Just like those grips that you saw earlier. I've never used that brand before. I've never even heard of them. They're a knockoff from Amazon. But I mean, really, we all know that, you know, you got a right throttle that's supposed to turn. It turns nice and free. But I also haven't tried the kill switch, stuff like that. It looks better than the factory. It looks better than, say, the cheapos. So that's pretty much what I look off of. Is, does it look better? Will it fit the theme that I'm going with? And is it functional? Will it work? If it's something that says it's all weather, which I really look for in a lot of these products for these projects, because of the main fact, you're going to be off-roading. You could run through a deep-ass puddle. You need to know that that kill switch is going to work. You need to know that the hose clamps or whatever that you're using is going to hold up to the abuse on what you're going to put all this stuff through. It's almost like, all right, like on the Dingo. If you look at the Dingo, I bent my tie rod, okay? First time ever doing it. It's a solid aluminum bar and literally bent like it was butter. Had I thought, like, you know, me being a mechanic, I should have looked at it like a Jeep thing. Basically, they use tubular design because it's a lot harder to bend. So now we're going to be changing up those tie rods to tubular tie rods, because if it does take an impact, you got a better chance of it being able to keep its rigidity and maybe just bending an end and replacing that for, like, say, $4 to $5 versus, you know, my last tie rods cost me almost $23 just for one side. So that's also the other thing, is looking at cost efficiency when you're doing something like this. So let's get back to ripping this tank out and seeing what we got going on. So this is what she looks like right now. We have the gas tank off, the fenders are off, the seat is off, so all that kind of stuff, leaving us with basically just chain guard. This sucker right here and right here. This is actually hiding the, I want to say it's an 8-tooth sprocket on here for the jack shaft. It's also supposed to have a cover right here, which is always missing. I have seen very, very few of them that still have that cover. If you have one, please leave a comment below. I would like to have it. If not, I am going to be making them. I'm not exactly sure how yet, but I would really like to just do them in metal and be done with it. I'm probably going to use something not too thick to make them, because I don't want to add too much weight. But at the same time, it's to that point where finding parts for these kind of bikes, they were really rare to begin with. Trying to find one would be almost impossible. It's almost like the front fairing. I'll show you a picture of that now. And stuff like that. There's a lot of things for these that are just almost impossible to find. Like if you look right here, this is an 80-tooth sprocket. Factory Manco sprocket. That is really, really hard to come by. I am having a hard time finding one. I don't even know if I'm really going to keep that one, because this is only running off of a 30 series. But we are planning on giving it a lot of power and stuff like that. So I don't know if I'm going to keep it. I might dummy it down to a 60 tooth and up the front tooth maybe to a 9 or, you know, something like that. So I'm probably gonna get to work now on getting the motor out, which should be 4 bolts that are hidden down here. There's usually one in the front, a couple in the rear. I can tell the jack shaft's gonna be in my way a lot. But I know this thing's already leaking oil pretty bad, so we are definitely gonna have to do a rebuild on this. Just basically getting all the gaskets cleaned up, and stuff like that. So let's dig into that. All right, now as you can see, we have all the guards off basically to get to finally the gear. This is I believe an 80 tooth sprocket with a 420 chain. We're gonna be getting rid of all this, cleaning all this up. New bearings in the back. I actually found these. These are if I'm correct, a 1-inch diameter bore with a 2-inch outer diameter. So basically you have to have that to be able to do it. I did not find any on Go Power Sports, but I found them on Amazon. So we're able to, if I can, I'll put the link in the description as long as it works. I have the new bearings for this. These you can also get at Go Power Sports. These are the bearings for basically just for this to turn. Not a big deal. But now we're going to actually get the chain off and see if we can get to getting the motor out. You have to have the chains off to get to it. So, yay, more fun. Okay, so as for this, the chain itself, what we're looking for is a master link. A master link is a link that's removable. And I found it's right down here. I'll show you exactly what it looks like. Is this link right here. If you look, it's different than any other link on the chain. This pops off, and then you're able to slide it out, and then basically this whole piece pushes out. I'm going to see if I can try to get that on video for you guys, and you'll see that this entire chain right here will come off, and that'll obsolete a lot of our problems, and we'll be able to get the engine out. So basically all I'm doing is I took my screwdriver and I pushed on that piece, and basically you're gonna take that off, and if you look, there's like an edge to it. You can only put it on really one way. You always want to aim where it's driving, which is kind of funny because this is the wrong way. That means this piece should have been going like that, because obviously the wheel turns like this and makes it go forward. So you got to understand, these can get caught on anything, and then literally your chain is just going to fall off and you're going to be stranded wherever you're at. You always put it where the bullet side, the closed side, goes towards the driving force, towards the front. And if it's on the top, it should be towards the front. You do not want to lose these out in nowhere, and you have nothing to get you home, basically. So that's what you want it for. But now that we did that, we can just go ahead and remove the chain by popping the other part of the chain out, if it'll come out. There we go. All right, and then you're gonna have a flat plate. Basically just another piece of chain that basically goes. I'm gonna try to get a better video or a better shot of this, but basically you'll see it here in a minute. Actually, let's just do this. There we go. So this is the whole thing. This is a master link right here. And basically you got a half of a chain. You got the lobe you always see, and then you got the two rods that go through, and then basically this plate locks onto here, putting the two pieces together, right? Now let's say that I'm the front of the bike or whatever, and the chain moves towards me, towards the front, right? You want it where this piece right here is going towards me. So basically what you do is you slide it on like so, and I'll show you, you just go right through the oval, and then you're basically just gonna push it back till it locks back on. Now I really don't care about this one because I'm changing out all these to performance chains. These are gonna get, I've always used from Go Power Sports is RK Gold chains. Not that these aren't good chains. I'm almost willing to bet this is the original chain. More than likely. But I want something this is gonna have a lot more power to it, so I definitely want to go with something a lot stronger. So we are going to be upgrading it with performance chains. I have put them on the Coleman CT200 UEX. I've gone ahead and put it on to, even the Dingo has it. You can actually see it right through there. That is a performance chain. It is meant to take, it's already pre-stretched. It's already pretty much as strong as it can be. Usually when I get them, I heat them up and I lube them and put wax, chain wax on it from Go Power Sports. And basically do that. The cool part is that the gear on here actually seems to be in pretty decent shape, especially for how old it is. But the next thing is going to be trying to get to these bolts over here. That will release my motor, and I can finally get the motor out of here after I get the 30 series shit taken off. So let's try that. As for what I'm talking about, this is the link you're going to put through to combine two. You're also going to have this piece right here. This literally just goes right onto that. This is hard to do with one hand. And it's going to sit and look like that. Now let's say that's the front driving force, meaning the chain's traveling that way. That means this piece needs to go on like so, over that, and then snapped into place. And it'll lock onto that piece. See how it works now? So that's how this master link and all master links really work. Alright, now we're going to tackle the left side of the bike. Basically, now we're going to get into what actually drives it. So inside here, you have your crankshaft and a 30 series torque converter. I'm looking at changing this over to a Juggernaut from Go Power Sports. They offer a lot more power. We're also going to be removing the governor from this eventually. So it's definitely going to have the RPM range and stuff like that, especially this being a Hemi motor. This is definitely going to be a lot stronger of an engine once I get everything, all the upgrades done. Now this is also going to be getting graphics also, and we're basically going to clean it up, give it all the same touches. This is probably going to get a custom exhaust, which ought to be rather interesting. I've never actually done a full-on custom exhaust for one of these, but when you go into the bigger stages, this needs a lot more air breathing. So with the stage 1 kit alone, you're automatically going to be changing the exhaust. You have to be able to get the power, or it's really pointless to do it. So now that we got that off, and I'll be happy if this is a Comet. It should be. And it sure is. An original Comet Industries. Comet is like the biggest out of the biggest when it comes to the name brand. So I'm probably going to end up keeping the driver itself. Not saying I'm going to use it, but we're probably going to be getting some new stuff for this, because this looks rather beat to death. Belt's kind of shot. Wow, this has definitely seen some better days. So, yeah. We're probably going to be changing this over to a Juggernaut. We're probably just going to end up either rebuilding or replacing this, because this has a ton of rust and pitting going on, and wow. So, yeah. Now what we're going to actually have to do is take off, I don't know, yeah, I did. We're going to be ending up taking off the driver, this Comet 30 series driver, Putting this aside for now. And basically what this is going to do is free it up from the jack shaft. So this is your jack shaft. See how this spins freely? Wow, this belt is old. Anyways, yeah, that's a 59. By the way, if you ever wonder for a 30 series on this, on at least these motors, as long as they haven't changed anything, the belt number for this is 5959. This is the replacement belt. This is an old belt. We're gonna be definitely replacing this. I'm probably gonna buy a couple of extras just to have. But yeah, let's go ahead and get the driver off, because that definitely needs to happen. I already loosened it. I don't have my impact with me. If you ever wonder how you could get something off, now mind you, this is if somebody doesn't overly crank the crap out of this stuff. Basically what you would do is, because this would all move, okay? This all moves with whatever you're doing. So basically what I do is, say it stopped right now, you can smack it, you gotta hold it, but you gotta smack it, and the shock will actually kind of act like an impact. If it frees up, cool. If it don't be shocked. They probably shot them on a little hard. This definitely is the wrong way though, because, and I'll show you this, what I mean by wrong. When you put a third, it doesn't really matter. If you buy one for Go Power Sports or anything, if you ever look at this, it's actually got a bevel to it. The bevel actually goes out. So this should have went like that to push onto that cap. But it's all good. We're gonna get new stuff anyways. And then here you go. We got the cover off. You of course got your centrifugal weights. We can pull all this stuff off. Okay. So basically you got a shaft collar. I've used this on like my Coleman. The Coleman version has pretty much the exact same setup, really. I'm actually looking at changing that over eventually too. Basically now we can pop this off, get rid of that, 'cause wow. Here's your brass bearing. It's actually in really good shape. And basically you just pop this off, and there you go. That is a 30 series torque converter from Comet. And yes, I'm going to be keeping this to just have, basically. What am I missing here? But yeah, basically we're just going to keep this around, because who doesn't love an old school Comet? That, and that, and the bolts, and this. So that's awesome. An original one. This is from Richmond, Indiana. If you guys don't know, I live in Indiana, so that's a huge reason why I love this stuff. Is because Manco was basically in Indiana. You know, an Indiana-based company. So actually the Dingo came from a place called Masters of Motion, which I believe is still in business. They just don't deal with, they don't actually do like go-karts anymore or any of that kind of stuff. They used to sell them. But yeah, I think it's pretty cool that this stuff is like all original, and you know, this is like history. I think that's why I get huge into the American go-karts, is because it was made here. We made stuff so strong back in the day that, like, look at this thing. I mean, you got to figure this is probably 80s, maybe early 90s, maybe, and it's still in really, really good shape, and just kicking ass, dude. Like, I can't even be shocked anymore. Seems like everything that I've seen out of it is, it can be refreshing, and it's good for another, you know, 10, 20, 30, 40 years, depending on what you're doing with it. So, yeah, I mean, it just kind of blows my mind. Ooh, I got an idea for you now. Because I'm actually looking at getting rid of this brake setup. I know I'm kind of jumping around, but I can't help it. I've been waiting to tear this thing apart for quite some time now. But I hate this brake setup. The only reason I really hate this brake setup is because we're probably going to be ending up putting a bar here as low as we can get, probably around in here, and we're actually just going to make it a solid foot peg instead of these 10-feld foot pegs. These bend, they were really just, it was a good idea and it wasn't a good idea all at the same time. So I'm looking at just getting rid of that, getting rid of the brake setup, and basically we're just holding on to the frame, the slider bar, axle, brake, and stuff like that. Everything seems really good here. It just needs to be, you know, cleaned back up, make it look good again. And like I said, I got tires for this. They're amazing tires. I put them onto the Dingo. They're GBC Dirt Devil tires. I bought the big one for the front and the 2211x8 for the rear. So, I mean, this thing should tear it up. So, let's get this engine out of here. Alright guys, so I went ahead and I took out all the bolts for the engine hold down. Now this plate is going to stay because it's attached to the jack shaft, and the jack shaft isn't going anywhere today, but we are going to work on getting you out right now. Oh yeah, you were leaking like a sieve, man. There we go. Oh. There we go. We have the Predator 212 Hemi out. Now, since I do have this out, I will explain. If you look at this, you see this is our valve cover. It's overhead valve, okay? This is a Hemi version. See how it has a rectangular shape, right? This is a dead indicator on whether you're going to have a Hemi version Predator or you're going to have a non-Hemi Predator. This is very important whenever ordering parts, because there are parts that will not work with a Hemi that will not work with a non-Hemi. So you have to make sure. A non-Hemi is kind of like my big block on my Manco Big Cat. I'm sorry, my Manco Dingo Gravedigger. It's a non-Hemi. You can tell because it has kind of like a stop sign style octagon shape to it, overhead valve with a bolt through the middle. The valves, or I should say the heads, are a little bit different. I heard you could get more compression out of taking a non-Hemi and putting it on a Hemi. I am not 100% on any of that. I do know shaving the head helps a lot, especially if you're trying to get a little more compression out of it, but I'm not 100% on what exactly all we're going to do with that part of it. I would like to get as much power as I can out of the 212. This is not going to have a charging system, so I am working on trying to at least get a headlight and a marker for the back setup. Just because I do plan on taking this stuff to Mini Mayhem again in 2022 if Cars and Cameras does it. I'm also looking at taking it to the Badlands, even though they kind of close before it ever gets dark. But I'm looking at basically trying to get a lot of power out of it, a lot of torque out of it, and stuff like that. So basically this is what we're left with today in this video, guys. Is we have the engine removed, we have the gas tank out, we have the fenders off. I really don't want to tackle this yet without my impact. My impact is going to really help me get the bolts off of here. I'm actually gonna probably spray them down with some WD-40 or penetrating oil to kind of get some of that wear off of there. Now that we got everything apart, we're gonna actually take a closer look at the Predator 212. Now that I know it's a Hemi, I can start ripping into it and figuring out where exactly it's leaking oil, because the undercarriage and even the plate, you can tell, is just caked with oil. I mean, it's just pissing it out. So in the next video, I'm hoping to... The next video is probably not going to be about the Manco Big Cat. We at least got this tore down. I finally got those dumb saddles off of there. So now I can actually start looking at what I'm going to do to give this engine more power. I know the kickstand itself has to come up. It's got to at least come up at least a minimum of 3.5 inches. So the reason is because of the front end. I will post another picture of the front end. I don't want to put it all on and all that and take it back off, and I got enough stuff I still got to do with that. That'll be in later videos. But thank you for checking out this video. I'm gonna get cleaned up, probably grab something to eat. I'll see you in the next video.